Allied destroyer coordinates received.
The siege upon managed democracy continues.
Initiating. Allied destroyer has joined squadron. Engaging orbital thruster.
Where the hell did I go? Okay.
I would admit that's pretty cool. And at least you could admit if law wasn't won by the law. I'm no lawyer, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that if you've got an outstanding warrant for your arrest, with the federal authorities are looking for you, it might not be a good idea to have your face and location put on blast like that. Especially in a magazine that's widely distributed as the National Geographic once was. Sure enough, the FBI had forgot about Dallas dodging the draft. And I guess they had them as a description of Nat Geo because wasn't long after that article was published, the feds came to pay a visit, found Dallas in the bunkhouse, alone, and arrested him without incident, much to his embarrassment. Law was booked, the land.
Come on, Sebastian.
Back to Ohio.
Hot launch initiated.
You're a fucking asshole. You're a bitch for taking my gun, fucker.
Reinforcing! Requesting air support!
Unleashing democracy.
Requesting air support! Calling down a support weapon! Dropping a pin. East.
Did someone destroy the buildings right here? For the research lab?
No, no. Come back to
Orbital incoming.
whatever the fuck it is. Hold on, I got it.
Tunnel breach. Requesting orbital strike.
This don't do it, I don't know.
Two men.
Got that building. One more.
Marking location. South. Tagging location.
Eagle 1 rearming. Be back shortly.
Mag's empty. Fire in the hole.
Like an aero strike or something.
Making progress.
Requesting supplies for the cause.
Pretty sure you could have dropped a resupply on it and it would have probably destroyed it. Most things, you can use most things that drop from the sky. It can kill anything.
Calling in an eagle.
Okay. Yeah.
Another diver for the cause.
Another diver for the cause.
Damn. Not yet.
Joining the fray.
Calling in an eagle.
Got it. Back up again. Son of a bitch. Okay, hold on.
Calling in an eagle.
This is Eagle 1. We're back in business.
Fuck that asshole, dude. Fucking piece of shit.
For the most part, seem to be itching for a fight. That said, I think it's only fair to point out that during this period, Claude Dallas did still maintain one hell of a good reputation. He was known for being a hard worker, exceptionally honest, trustworthy, and the type of guy who, when he goes through a gate, closes it behind him. High praise indeed. Now, as far as Claude's romantic prospects near Paradise Hill, there wasn't always a married lady. Dallas may have had a bit of a dalliance with, and there was strangers there were far from each official.
Helldivers.
Just let's face
Take
it,
command
nuts
of
that's
Gatsby's
enough
liberation.
like a stock reservoir in Humboldt County. Still, though, I don't think anyone was under the impression that wedding bells were anywhere in Claw's foreseeable future. According to one parent I still local for, Claw treats them like queens. I don't believe he takes any of them to bed, but if he does, he calls them man. It would. I imagine the pickings were pretty slim there in Paradise Hill. And who knows, maybe Claw just that high standards. But as far as I can tell, and as far as everyone else is closely concerned, Dallas doesn't not really have and it's fine, but we got to admit, yeah, all together, lack of relationships, the opposite sex, overlying unhealthy sex guns, government paranoia, and national cruelty. It really does start to give off some real incel vibes. For what it's worth, though, I don't necessarily think that's the case. By the way, if you're not familiar, it does open the new term voluntarily celibate. Often used to describe men that, lack of a better phrase, can't get laid and thus take the sexual frustrations out of society. But here's the thing, all Dallas is not a fashion job by any standard. No, during his time frequenting the bar, Dallas was getting late 20s. He was about 170 pounds, 5 foot 6 tall, and he's straight to his face, constantly busting his ass and various jobs, alcohol, and damn abilities. Plus, he had that old shot experience taken. That family lady I mentioned earlier, he was the one who being called from Dallas, not the elite. Here, there are plenty of other ladies in other towns who found the fashionable bucket through the vital order. Just not extremely character. Not off the celibate, I don't know, but I'm positive his sex life, or lack thereof, was entirely associated. Or hell, I don't know, maybe Claw just didn't kiss me. It's always a possibility. Either way you want to cut it, there was nothing in this man's life that ever indicated any particular fondness for female companionship. This, of course, was in stark contrast to George Nielsen, who liked to brag that he got more pussy than any man who stayed in the bottom. In addition to running the bar there in Paradise Hill, George also operated a little trailer park out back, where at the time, Dallas was in and fast on any given night at the saloon, nursing the beer, giving the Pepsi, but rarely socializing. Just like back in his cowboy days, Claw continued to keep to himself. If he started up a conversation and he didn't feel like talking, he would just get up and walk away. Unless, of course, he brought up guns or government overreach, in which case Claw was more than willing to share his opinions. And oftentimes, these opinions were peppered with few threats. Matter of fact, Dallas was heard more than once stating that he wasn't afraid to resort to violence if anybody in power attempted to infringe upon his rights. And more often than not, George Nielsen would toss in his 2 cents as well. Described as an instigator, George was known to get folks all kinds of riled up, quote-unquote, stir the shit, only to then slide himself right out of whatever trouble he may have caused, and just watch him in the sidelines. As the game of Claw's growing nature of the federal government, George Nielsen never wasted an opportunity to throw fuel on the fire. Just like Dallas, George openly and repeatedly threatened deadly force his right to transfer law. Not we all need to do it business. Dr. Kim was just working those odd jobs. Dallas also started running trap lines. He did when he was getting back to YouTube. Sell it out of his farm, truckers, and tourists, and web. Believe it or not, back in the 1970s, there was actually pretty good money to be made in trap America. Demand was at an all-time high, at low prices, and more than a few young men made their way through college by the trap in their spare time. Dallas has been all in. Trap lines from north to Nevada, all the way to southeastern Oregon, and even up into Idaho, all these on public land, which, by the way, is 100% legal. Initially, Claw enjoyed doing it among other trappers. They meshed some kind of equipment for animals, and then however, we're exactly in line with the Nevada fishing game. It might not have been the best game to fly. Dallas will be engaged traps and flat out using spacers. Thus, people on the animals that they may not even been after. But he also wasn't all that concerned with legal limits and trapping seasons. And make matters worse, for some damn reason, Claude allegedly could be killing wild Mustangs. Both as hell and his fate. The story goes that Dallas would live off damn near nothing but horse flesh for months at a time, raving about the when they read the lights. As you can imagine, it didn't take long for the game wardens to get wind, and better believe they came investigating him. Spring in 1976, a lot of fish and game agent Bill Elliott found that his laws were using traps and confiscated. He also confronted Dallas about Louisville's Mustangs, an accusation which law thoroughly denied. In the end, Dallas decided he had to pay a fine for his traps back. And trust me when I say he was not a happy camper. The reason he allowed outside is he property is not what would cause trouble in the area. For his law, and he just called it as he usually was. Anywhere else for that matter, he was instantly shot Elliott dead. Said the same thing about another couple of game warriors who visited his camp one day. For instance, had they stolen his stash when he was not the pulled his gun and reading something to the effect of, "I'll be seeing you," which the increasingly touchy Dallas interpreted as a threat. Now, despite all this heat, Dallas just kept riding on poaching. So much, in fact, that not his calls began flooded in certain traffic and life, making the Dallas still ran, hit boxes, a lot of mountain. One story is that the place is mountain itself, allegedly. December 1978, dog once again caught red-handed. The game wardens found his key parked in bloody arms, rugged and hilariously named area just to the west of Paradise Hill. Conservation officers confiscated several illegal traps, and when Dallas fed the emerged from the wilderness, they also took the gun and made them behind the cheap .357 revolver along with the rifle. Now, Claude knew they were there. Hell, he was likely watching from the tree line the entire time. Ready to engage in gunplay, like he was bragging about doing. He simply ran several miles from the friend's house. Then, 4 days later, he showed the sheriff's office his guns back. Gene Weller, who bought a fish and game, impromptu pulled firearms. He also admitted to reusing the law. Well, trapped in the eagle. He didn't have to be out there breaking the law. Furthermore, Weller offered to help Dallas out. Coach him up on new tricks or techniques the young trapper may not have been aware of. When it was all said and done, he came to a compromise. Dallas said that he had his fast traps and bloody runs if he and the operator give him the lead and clean him up. Okay, cool. Weller agreed. Like I said, he gave Claude's guns back. In pardon, Dallas was a warning that he welcomed his camp anytime on the suspicion that he leaves his badge outside. In the weeks that followed, the two rookies on several more occasions and with Weller, Dallas was always polite and ordering on the bridge. Behind the game warden's back, however, Paradise Hill about how he was back to Also, oddly enough, Dallas began waxing poetic about life on the run, saying that he thought he would enjoy being a wanted man, boasting about how good he'd be at it. Then he just fights his lick one weapon cash to another, thinking that everyone would get looked for. He also played an active line about the practice on the game after the fans, especially when I was young. I don't know about you, but I definitely said I'm very serious with my identity. Civil War, financial collapse, EMP strikes today, but it's partly a guy thing, I think. You know, we've all watched post-apocalyptic movies, read the books, and lived ourselves. You see us here, imagine how we act, what we do, and to the left of me, I also think it's fun exercise and staying prepared, right? While I don't think we'll be invaded by zombie fighters or Chinese bears or moving kind of stuff, you never know, there's going to be an extended power outage or a hurricane, something along those lines. Prepared for the worst and hope for the best, right? Never hurts to have some extra ammo or food or contingency plan. Those are good things, I think. But if you're genuinely fantasizing about total societal collapse because you ain't paying taxes, or just because you want to shoot a bunch of deer out of season, You become obsessed with planning out ambush locations on the off chance that you're wanted by law enforcement. Well, at that point, frankly, it might be time to seek a little help. And in the case of Law Dallas, people did get a notice of this change. While he's still kept in the so-called prison camp and is out in the woods, not everyone felt comfortable around there. Fellow trapper came with him one day and left shortly thereafter, claiming that he got spooked by the way Dallas was talking and constantly fondling his pistol, sort of like he was just itching to use it. Be that as it may, to many of the locals around Paradise Hill, especially the patrons of the bar, Law Dallas was quickly becoming a local legend. Their very own real-life modern-day mountain. Reputation Law further solidified in the summer of 1979 when he took breakfast traffic into the Prince local Yukon River. Okay, great. This is just what a guy like Dallas needs. Time off, just relaxing with the Prince, and having some nice, healthy, legal fun. And you can get a blowjob on that. The only problem is Dallas used this as an opportunity to commit several unnecessary felonies. As his buddies were passing the substance of more than GPD, and armed to keep Dallas in nearby forest, helping making his way across the Canadian border like Rambo. And after rejoining his pals on the other side, Law wasted no time in locating and illegally shooting a doll sheep. Friends Joe from Dallas was well on his way to make the Grand Slam. Now, I've never heard of sheep, but it's my understanding that the Grand Slam, in this context, we harvest all 4 wild species of sheep in North America. Desert bighorn, Rocky Mountain bighorn, stone sheep, and doll sheep. If I'm not mistaken. This can be extremely difficult, and not just due to the rough terrain and various locations. Just get a permit to hunt some of these animals and feed unto itself. And some people spend their entire life playing the tag lottery system. Those who finally obtain a permit, they immediately will die, just hope they get lucky. For many hunters, this is literally the pinnacle of their lives, proud of achievement. For someone like Claude, though, who didn't give a shit about fall and conservation, and didn't feel like he should have to wait around as permits or tags, it was quite a bit easier. His only worry, after all, was just not getting caught by the game wardens, or whatever they call game wardens up in Canada. Game Wardens A, I think. Once back in Nevada, Dallas resumed poaching, allegedly. Operating on the border of Idaho as his legend continued to blossom. Hell, tourists would even line up at the bar in Paradise Hill just to get their photos taken with Claw. A famous Nevada trapper just living off the land like Jeremiah Johnson. Or at least that's how they saw him. At the same time, Claw's dislike for his fellow man was growing at a rapid pace, especially those whom he judged weak. Called them lefties, a ranching term often used for abandoned or orphaned calves that run around bawling for their mamas. Now, before we go any further, I do want to address the commonly held belief that Claude Dallas is a modern-day mountain man just minding his own business, living off the land. In my opinion, this was and is a big reason why so many people look up to the guy. And shit, man, I get it. I mean, what's not to admire about somebody trekking off into the wilderness and just living life on their own terms? As long as they're not hurting anybody, what's the problem, right? Well, first, let's just establish the flaw of what exactly out there looking like Grizzly Adams, okay? He still had that trailer in Paradise Hill, he had modern conveniences, and he certainly wasn't just living off the meat that he harvested. Or did he have a need to live off what he killed? That's what he did. And no point on Claude Dallas I find any instance where he was forced to poach game in order to survive. Also, while many pretend that Dallas was the best trapper in Nevada and everything, taking out these bobcats, regular the market than anyone else, turns out that might not be true. Stories of flaws and more victims than that. One better trapper who knew him personally stated that while Dallas had the makings of a good trapper, he was not bringing in as many furs as some claim. To make matters worse, by around 1980, Claw began destroying the traps and so-called competitors. So he was operating on public land, I guess Dallas was like organic players along the hill. And as I hinted at earlier, he had even taken to killing mountain lion cubs. All of this inevitably just led to even more anomalous complaints to Nevada fishing game. Finally, Dallas decided that he'd make a change and he'd have himself a criminal venture in the process. Decided to winter in the desolate region of the Owyhee Desert in southwestern Idaho, a place called Full Basin. A few miles north of the Nevada border. An area described by Dallas as one of the most remote locations in all of the United States. Which got me to thinking, how does one go about determining the most remote or isolated region of the country? Its Ray Rebecca the means. Doubles, both of the conservation biologists, set out a few years ago to locate the most remote areas in all 50 states. And their criteria was pretty straightforward. It's whatever place is furthest from a road, any road, even those that are unpaved and private. Also, the area in question can't be under some giant lake or anything like that. It has to be on the land. By this metric, the means found that the most isolated or remote location in the lower 48 was located in Wyoming's Yellowstone National Park, 21.7 miles from the road. But to have trouble a few days to hike in, and to their surprise, they found a cabin less than a mile away. Now, there is another theory, one that I first heard about on the Meat Eater podcast, that argues the country's most remote place is wherever happens to be the furthest from a McDonald's. In 2009, a statistician by the name of Stephen Von Worley, how's that for a name, created a heat map showing the location of every single McDonald's in the continental U.S. It's like those maps that you'll see in zombie movies, you know, where they show the outbreak spreading with red dots, but instead of the dots representing the Walking Dead, they're marking the location of Big Macs. Sure enough, there are some pretty big dark spots in the western U.S., especially in Nevada and southern Idaho, signifying a dearth of McD's. Matter of fact, when the map was updated in 2015, the most remote location, aka the next farthest, was deemed to be about halfway between Las Vegas and Reno, or over 120 miles from the nearest McDonald's. Now that's as the crow flies, not driving distance. I'm not sure how it was in 1980, but this area where Claude was planning on spending the winter, currently, according to Google Maps and my very own rough estimate, is about 75 miles as the crow flies from the nearest quarter pounder of cheese. It might not be the most isolated place in the United States, but it's pretty damn remote. Even nowadays, Paradise Hill, it's about a 5-hour drive just to get there. And I've seen photos of the road going in, and it does seem pretty dang rough. Now, speaking of Google Maps, if you go and you type in Bull Basin, Idaho, it'll show a location about 40 or so miles north of Nevada. This was not Claude's Bull Basin. While I don't have the exact coordinates, the place where Dallas was headed was in the extreme southwest portion of Idaho, just a couple of miles north of the border, on the Little Owyhee River, very close to a place called Coyote Hole and due south of 45 Ranch. Once again, on Google Maps, if you search for Bull Camp as opposed to Bull Basin, you'll find the area that I'm talking about. Now, contrary to popular belief, when Dallas finally made the move after his winter camp, he did not do so as a lone mountain man, riding out into the great unknown on his trusty steed and leading a pack mule. While it is true that Claude had a mule, 2 of them actually, they were hauled in via trailer, as were quite a few supplies. Matter of fact, it took 7 men, a pickup truck, a Chevy Suburban, and a damn school bus to transport all of Claude's equipment. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, okay? But it does somewhat alter the narrative of Dallas being 100% self-sufficient and living off the land like a damn Jim Bridger. Once they arrived at Bull Basin, these buddies, most of whom Claude knew from the bar at Paradise Hill, helped him to carry supplies down to the camp, including a tent and a propane heater. And they made plans for a series of resupply visits as the winter progressed. Finally, they departed and left Dallas all on his lonesome, trapped to his little heart's content. Now, this was BLM land, publicly owned, but it was also leased to an old boy named Don Carlin. As the owner of the aforementioned 45 Ranch, Carlin had a permit to run his cows in the area. Turns out, the very basin where Dallas set up camp was also where Don and his son Eddie would herd the cattle to the weather turned down. Carlin was going to walk in, and he was also a trap line in the basin, as did other trappers. People can't be as remote as it was. Still have people coming in, harvesting fur, and Carlin's, of course, looking after their cattle. Now, we just pause real quick and discuss the legalities of the situation up to this point. Those of you with more knowledge of BLM, I'm pretty sure Claude Dallas was perfectly his rights to set up camps for his kids. As far as I know, there were no rules changed, just because Carlin my friends, here we mark our match with those days, and Dallas had to go victory line. I find it hard to believe that he didn't see evidence of cattle being raised in other even days. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like good to see. I just nervous camping there without reaching out to Carla. At least introducing myself. And make sure nobody gets their feelings hurt. But as far as the law goes, I think Dallas is clear, at least momentarily. Nowadays, most, if not all, public land here in the United States has a 14-day rule. The state closes one camping location for up to 2 weeks. After that, you got to break camp and you leave 25 miles down the road. This does make sense. It does shift people from just creating permanent homes on public land, first of all, and it also gives other people the opportunity to enjoy prime campsites. But was this the case in 1980? I don't know. I wouldn't even warn you. I tried looking up when that rule first went into place, and I was unsuccessful. If you happen to know, please shoot me an email at josh@wildwestextra.com. Either way, the main problem with Claude, there in the basin, is just him doing the same shit that he always did. Trapping out of season, and killing well over his legal limit when he came to wild game. At least that's according to Andy Carlin of Wild Ranch, who made Dallas a visit on BBC in 1980. Eddie, nearby, a reflecting cypress that is the home of gaining security. He also made two illegal bobcat eyes to break over the bush. Altitude emerged, and he got a good look up close. He suddenly realized he had that area of fire. The cow can't prove the west. And even back then, Carly got the impression that Claude, after he was tried, was trigger. Later, after comparing notes, Eddie learned that his father, Don, had also previously met Dallas. Same location, all about this trap Don, Claude told him, quote, I don't think it's anybody's business in the world where or when I trap, end quote. The meeting between Eddie and Dallas is there full basis. The cordial enough, but it's still like this. He knew, I think Eddie went in there, back up, and held on. Face to face, though, I guess Eddie kind of got cold feet. He can't really call it. He looked at his father after he encountered his law in the back. They both thought that he was more than a little on the dangerous side. Here he was, raising his coaching and arms and skills. So Eddie tried to attack and gave Dallas a friendly warning about fish and game, saying that they were in the area often. Long two-month fathers simply stating that when or if the game warden showed up, he'd be ready for him. Too often discussed trapping and became legitimate agreement as to hear Dallas from his trap lines. Stipulations that Claude agreed to, albeit with a somewhat threatening disclaimer, quote, I'm not a government man. I don't believe in law enforcement. If we have any trouble over trapping, it'll be personal trouble. I don't believe in man-made laws, end quote. Now, I don't know how you interpret that, but to me that means that if we have any problems, there's not going to be any consulting of lawyers or calling the police. We'll deal with it man to man. And seeing as how Claude wasn't really one to use his fist, I think we all know what dealing with it means. And I reckon that's how Eddie took it as well. Believe it or not, the Carlins did not immediately rush to tell authorities about Claude Dallas and his coaching camp. It wasn't until a few days later when they discovered illegally baited traps, set out by some altogether different trappers from Oregon, and finally said enough is enough. Remember, the Carlins ran traps as well. The last thing they needed was the game wardens thinking it was them. They damn sure didn't want to lose their grazing rights. In 1980, they didn't even have a phone near the ranch. Don and Eddie had to drive 2 hours away to a nearby reservation just because they were who they knew by the name of Bill Poe. Now, Poe, ironically enough, had cited Don Carlin in the past for a minor offense. The 50-year-old Marine Corps veteran, who went above the police chief, had a reputation for being a stickler to the law, which is one of the main reasons the Carlins called him. Poe also knew the Owyhee like the back of his damn hand. An avid bird watcher, amateur artist, and all-around conservationist, Bill Poe spent quite a bit of his free time in the desert just snapping photos of baby birds. Hell, he liked the Owyhee so much that he even asked his wife Dee to make sure that he was buried there. According to Jack Olson and Give the Boy a Gun, when Bill received a call that night from the Carlins at around 10 p.m., he didn't so much as hesitate to head out. despite the OYD no longer being his official territory. Quote, of course he had to go. He always had to go. Phone ring at 3 a.m. and he, Bill, would leave with an injured deer out of his misery or pull some fool out of the mud or help find a lost horse. And if the call was from his old district, the OYD, he went twice as fast and perhaps as much reason. End quote. According to D, Bill explained that if Don Carlin drove all that far just to get to a telephone, then it must be serious, and he felt like it was the least he could do to leave immediately. As such, Poe kissed his wife goodbye and set out with fellow game warden Conley Elms. Now, initially, Bill called Conley's brother Michael, who, as it turns out, was the actual conservation officer assigned to the OYD. Mike was unavailable, as was the next one, trying to finally get the 34-year-old Conley arraigned. In addition to being highly respected by their peers in Fish and Game, both Poe and Helms were family men. Bill and his wife Dee had 4 kids, and although Conley and his bride Sherry couldn't have children, they were in the process of adopting a baby girl from India. Matter of fact, the baby girl was already conceived, and Conley and he picked out their daughter's name all on his own, Aaliyah Duran, and Ray of Sunshine in India. Sadly, Conley Elms, a man described by many as being unprepared, but never have the pleasure of seeing the When he ever sees wife Sherry again, likewise, Bill Poe and his wife did. Neither of the conservation officers knew they were about to from Long Dallas when they initially set out to Todd Ranch. As far as they knew, the Carlins were convinced about the house. One initially showed up at the ranch in January 5th, 1920, and Annie's flight led to slip in Dallas and sent to Bobcat. Now, in the future, the white county sheriff Tim Nelson was to call a warning that he had received County, and it was the first in the bar Nevada. Sounds familiar. Poe cautioned Nelson, saying, quote, that trapper's a dirty little meat son of a bitch. If you ever get around him, watch out. End quote. And whether or not that trapper question was Claude Dallas or not is unknown. And when Annie Carpenter's wife mentioned Claude's name, it didn't seem like Poe was overly concerned. Following a nice breakfast, Annie led the officers first the illegal traps, the ones set by them boys for ordering. In turn, they asked Eddie to follow the trap line back to the ranch and pull up any bobcat sets that he might happen to come across. As for Poe and Elms, they pushed on ahead, stopping briefly to sight warden trapper Don Carter from Painted Bay, continuing on the lost camp. And as it turns out, they were not the only visitors. Damn. This area sure is crowded, being so remote. Jim Stevens, a field farmer from Nevada, had just arrived at the base of the ship's laser full of supplies from Dallas. Stevens had been one of the guys who initially helped Claude set up camp, and he agreed to return every so often with fresh supplies. As he was doing the fateful day in question, by the time the game warden showed up, provisions had already been accomplished by Stevens down by the river. Claude keeping the office. Now, Jim was on at another model like this in the West. Next Then does not work. I'm relatively certain this also applies to games, especially in a situation like this, where there's so many signs of poaching right out there in the open. I think, like I said, I'm still a little confused about the mentality, but from my very limited conversations with game wardens, it sounds like searching a tent without a warrant would just be sort of a case-by-case basis. Nevertheless, Conley did enter Long's tent without a warrant, and he returned with an armful of stretched furs as Dallas and Poe continued arguing. Now here's the thing. It was not yet Bobcat season there in Idaho, by something like 4 or 5 weeks. It was, however, just a few miles south in Nevada. Dallas even said as much, letting Poe know that he would just tell the judge he harvested the hides in Nevada. At this point, Stevens, who stated that he felt embarrassed for Claude, had turned back toward the river with his metal detector. He was still listening, though, and remembered hearing more talk about illegal cats and citations, and then Dallas asking the officers flat out whether or not they were going to take him in. Mere seconds later, a gunshot rang out. Stevens whirled around just in time to witness Bill Poe falling backwards as Dallas crouched down and holding that .357 in both hands, emptied the gun into Conley Elms. As Poe and Elms lay on the ground, Poe still alive and struggling to get up, Dallas went inside that tent and came out with a .22 rifle, delivering a single shot to the heads of both game wardens, trapper style, just behind the ear. As I'm sure you can imagine, Jim Stevens was scared shitless. What was supposed to be a leisurely camping trip with the hero mountain man of Paradise Hill just turned into a damn murder scene. And as far as Jim knew, Claude might be itching to dispose of the one and only witness. That wasn't the case, though. While Dallas didn't seem to show any remorse for killing the officers, he was at least apologetic for getting Stevens mixed up in it. He also informed Jim that he was going to need his help getting rid of the bodies. Now this part I don't really understand. They were successful in loading Bill Poe in the back of Stevens' Blazer, but Conley Elms, who, as I alluded to earlier, was a pretty big dude, was not able to be so easily moved. At one point, Claude actually remarked that the only way they'd be able to get rid of Elms was by quartering him like a deer and hauling him out in pieces. In the end, though, Dallas simply dumped Conley into the river. And that's the part I don't get. You know, why dispose of one body and not the other? I get the idea of making bodies disappear. Without a body, it's pretty damn hard to convict. But if you're just going to leave one of the victims floating in a river, why not? What's the purpose of going through the trouble of hauling Poe out and Conley's still there for anyone to find? Maybe it was just the confusion of the